Tree Talkin Time is brought to you by Conkeys Outdoors. Get all your hound hunting needs at conkeys.com. Welcome to Tree Talkin Time, where we talk all things tree dogs, from the smallest fights to the largest hounds, treating squirrels to bears and everything in between. And from time to time, we might even run a little fast game. Welcome back to another episode of Tree Talkin Time. I'm your host, Ben Sheets. Just wanted to come on and say Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope you had a great Christmas holiday. I know this week's still a bit holiday mode as we creep our way towards the new year, which means 2023 is coming to an end, which is just blows my mind. So this week will be a blur. It'll be a very busy week, even though, with work and holidays and maybe even some hunting mixed in there. So it'll be a busy week, that's for sure. But just wanted to make sure I said Merry Christmas to everyone and hope you had a great Christmas. This episode is going to be kind of like a recap of some of my favorite stories from this year. Before we get into that, I do want to definitely say thank you to the sponsors that have come on this year and partnered with me and have helped me be able to bring you this podcast. This podcast takes a lot of time. It does take some money. There's a lot of equipment and stuff that I've purchased over the years, and it's definitely helped with a lot of that. So I really do want to thank those sponsors. They've really helped. And not only are they sponsors and they're just money or anything, they're all good friends. I've become great friends with Zach and Corey from Conkeys, and I've gotten the opportunity to talk to Bruce a couple of times, and man, I'm looking forward to maybe one day getting down there and actually getting to spend some time with him. If you missed that episode, it's a great one. And also, just if you miss his post in a couple of the different coonhound groups and on Facebook or even on the UKC forums, he's very thought-provoking, has some great topics, and has a really good point of view that I always enjoy. Even times when I don't necessarily agree, it's thought-provoking. It makes you think and makes you question what you do believe in. So he's a great one to listen to, and he has a lot of experience. So definitely check that episode out. Jason and Danny from Full Cry. Me and Jason became good friends while working with W, and we'll get there in a second because we're still working with W, but, got to know him really well through that. And then when him and Danny took over the magazine, I've gotten to know Danny since then a little bit and their family more, and it's been great getting to know them a little more, and great people, and I'm so happy they took over that magazine. And if you haven't checked out the Full Cry magazine, you definitely need to. It's great. I'm super happy. It's funny because probably a year ago, or probably a year and a half ago, me and Jason had a conversation about magazines and kind of what we described, what we wanted to see. And it's just funny how things worked out that he was able to purchase Full Cry and literally turn Full Cry into what we talked about. So I'm very excited and so happy for them and their growth, and I look forward to seeing that grow even more this year. As they get more and more issues, not episodes. I think they're going to continue to grow that, and if you're not subscribed, I highly recommend it. I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's not what it was, but I think it's great in its own right. And then lastly but not least, I do thank W for continuing to work with me and helping me out. Buddy and Jason have been there from the beginning. I launched my first, I think 8 episodes with them over 2 years ago, and really helped me learn how to produce a podcast and how to do all this. And they've been very helpful in critiquing me and showing and teaching me what I needed to do and kind of helping me get where I needed to go before I jumped out on my own. And then even after that, they've helped me with the initial merch launch and stickers, like all my stickers that I had at Automokes. If you were at Automokes, Buddy made those, and so I definitely want to thank Buddy as well, and it's been great working with him. So thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. And not only thank you to those sponsors, but thank you for all you listeners. Without you, this wouldn't make sense for them to come in and help me, and wouldn't make sense for them to try to spend advertising dollars to, to advertise to you guys. And so I really appreciate it. There's a lot of people that have listened that have bought my merch. And if you're interested and you haven't, or if you're interested, there's some new stuff. It's treetalkin.com. Hopefully in 2024, we're going to get some hats on there. I've had some made. I sold some at Automokes, and they seem to be a hit. It's just a matter of, lining up a vendor to make those and get them shipped and everything, where, having a small batch made and everything was a little, just the logistics of it, it's a little different versus a show versus, online sales. So just getting all that stuff lined up to be able to make that happen. So hopefully soon that will happen. But I just thank each and every one of you. I appreciate all the messages and all the feedback. If you've had suggestions, there's been some constructive criticism. I know my audio sometimes I get complacent and I don't adjust it the greatest. I don't emphasize my own audio. I tend to prioritize my guest. But as a podcast listener, I completely understand that it can be annoying to have to adjust, your volume, because you can't hear one person, but then you turn it up and then the other person's really loud. So I completely understand it. And trust me, I'm right there. If you've turned one of my episodes off, I get it. I've done it. There's been plenty of episodes of other podcasts that I've done the same thing. So if that's an issue, or if there's ever anything else that I'm open to any constructive criticism. I can take it. I appreciate it. I'm always trying to make this better. I'm a one-man band here, so sometimes things do slip through the cracks. Sometimes I don't always do the best job. But I appreciate the guys that have tried to help me out and said, hey, you got to fix this or tweak that. And so I appreciate those guys. I appreciate, the suggestions. I've had some great guests on this show that were suggestions, that people that I wouldn't have thought about, or people that I didn't know. And, they've turned out to be great episodes. So I do appreciate those suggestions. After 2 years and plus all the other podcasts, it can be difficult to get some good original guests. And I'm not saying that guys and gals that haven't been on other podcasts aren't good. But if they've been on other podcasts, I try to have a different take, or try to have a different topic or something to cover with them. So that way you're not hearing the same thing from me and all the other hound hunting podcasts. Without further ado, we'll get into the highlights of this year and hear some good stories that were my favorites. Part of producing a podcast is very selfish. I enjoy these conversations. I enjoy getting to meet these people and talk to these people. And so we're going to listen to some of my favorites. So hope you enjoy these ones as much as I did. We start off with episode 58 with John Saunders, and we're just talking about treeing curs and his male dog, Boone, who's the treeing cur he's got right now, and kind of his ideal dog and what he likes in a dog. And the last line of this clip is what really just hooked me on this being one of my favorites from this year.
We got Boone and got him going, got him started.
Now, what's he out of?
Boone is he's a grandson of Jim and Bo, and a grandson of Tree Talkin Mike on the bottom side. That he was what I was looking for in a young dog. Those dogs, like I said earlier in the conversation, they're the type of dog, when this dog would run a deer, they were extremely junky. If he would jump a deer, you didn't run a deer for like 20 minutes. He run a deer for like half the day. You'd catch him 3 miles away from you. But if he treed, he was treed. And I guess a lot of people wouldn't like that at all. For me, that's the kind of dog I'm looking for. I want one that's got that fire,
Yep.
I can dial it down, but I can't turn it up.
Do you tend to like a dog that's a little heavier on the hound, heavier on the cur? Looks, mouth. What are you looking for?
For me, I want a dog that leans more towards the hound side.
Okay.
There's a lot of these dogs that there are a little more curry acting, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's a place for that. But what I do see in these dogs is they're the type of dog that can get treed on a really really bad day when things are terrible. When it's windy or it's cold, it's raining. These dogs are still they're gonna get cut, get deep, and try to make a tree.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what I'm looking for.
Hmm.
I want one that whenever you turn him, you've got to pick him off a tree somewhere. Um, and that's the way that the Boondog is. He's not a real easy dog to handle. When you turn him, you've got to catch him somewhere. Now, if game's thick, he's going to tree right in front of you. But I guess to answer your question, I like one that's more houndy myself.
Okay.
Now I don't want him. I don't want him running a track all day long. I don't want an open mouth dog. Uh, these dogs tend to be still mouth,
Hmm.
but they come on tree with a locate. I like that. I guess that goes back to being a coon dog man.
Yeah.
I like that big locate when they roll over. I like a good hard tree dog. Um, so for me, I like the hound part more. I can take one being more houndy than less. I guess is probably the best way to answer that question.
One of the highlights of my year is I go to the Great American Outdoor Show, which is in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and it is the largest consumer outdoor expo in the country. And they have one big room just full of outfitters. And even before all the podcast, one of my favorite things was to go talk to these outfitters that were hound hunters. And now I just happen to take some recording gear along with me. And I've met some great guys and had a blast talking to them. And one of the ones that I got to talk to last year was Brandon Lane. And in episode 61, he tells us a pretty intense story about a really big bear that he killed. That one was really memorable for me, and it was a great story. And Brandon's a great storyteller, and I look forward to seeing him this year again and maybe having him back on either this year or down the road.
All right. So this story that really rings a bell there from this past season was we had a group of younger guys in camp, and we put down on a bait there, and the dogs are off. And after about 2 hours there, we're walking down the old tote road, and I got the hunter set up there, and he's using a single shot 30-30. The bear steps out probably 15 feet away there, and the dogs are around it, and tell the hunter to shoot, and the gun goes click. I turn around and I look at him like, what's that all about? And he's like, won't go off. So he puts another bullet in and it goes click there. And after doing it 4 times, and this whole time this is transpiring, it sounds like it's just a few seconds there, but it's over a couple minutes. Me, the dogs, and the hunter and his buddy were all on the road walking down this little 2-track dirt road there. And I turn around and look at the hunter there, and he yells at me. And I turn back around and look, and the bear's coming at me. And I just swung around. I had my pistol in my hand there, and I swung around, and I was close enough so when the barrel hit the head there, I pulled the trigger. And needless to say, it was 518 pounds dressed there. So it was definitely a moment that none of us will ever forget. I can tell you that. And I looked at the kid, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry there, but, the safety would come first. And his words were, I thank you. He said, and I appreciate everything you did. He says, now you got the taxidermy bill, and I don't. So it worked out good in the end.
Man, that was intense. How would you like to come face to face with a bear that big? I know I wouldn't. So I'm glad it wasn't me. In our next clip from episode 72, Zach and Corey, before they came on as sponsors, they had them on, and we were talking about coon hunting down there in the armpit of America where they live. And Zach had a crazy story like right before we recorded. So let's hear about that.
Corey, you wanna tell Thursday's story?
Yeah, so we get actually it's kind of crazy that I got off work and I'm headed home. Right before I get home, a tree had laid across our road, knocked our power out. So then we're dealing with all that, and I think Zach rolled in later on that night. My brother wanted to come. He was up from college. He has his girlfriend with him. She's from Johnson City, Tennessee. She's been coon hunting a couple times, and she's been wanting to go. So he was wanting to take her and show her kind of what we do and all that. So we're like, all right, great, come on. So we're always happy to have new people and get them excited in hunting for sure. But so they jump in the truck, we go over there, and we turn them out, and we turned out Zach's dog Charlie, and we turned out that blue tick. and Charlie went in there good, and the blue tick went left-handed. And she don't like to be with other dogs. She took off left-handed and went about 400 yards and she struck and treed. I mean, within minutes, it wasn't long at all. And I was so excited that she treed a coon. We jumped in the truck and we're getting over there pretty quick. So especially that first tree, everybody wants to get in there quickly and see what they're doing, see if they got a coon. So we get in there and sure enough, there's like three coons up there. And we get to position where we can shoot it. And I got a semi-auto pistol that I shoot, which is really good. It's nice because you can carry it easier. It's lighter. When you're walking in the woods, it's just way easier to carry. So, we were letting my brother's girlfriend shoot the coon. And so she starts shooting and she hit it a few times and it just was not wanting to come out. And I'm like, man, I don't know what's going on. And Zach yells, "Oh, I got a shot over here." So we're like, okay. So at this point, she's kind of like, all right, I'm done shooting. Like, here, just shoot it and get the coon out. So I come over there by Zach and start shooting again and shooting again. And this thing just does not want to fall out. Well then, about that time, Zach yells and he's like, "Ouch!" And I'm like, "What's going on?" And one of the shells had hit him right about his collarbone and burned him.
It hurt like crazy.
And when that happened, he kind of yelled a little bit, and it burned him pretty good right there on his collarbone. Well, when that happened, he backed up a step, and it was the next shot. I mean, it got him right in the eye. The shell casing did.
It felt like I was blind. I'm not even kidding you. And I don't know if you've ever been hit in the eye with something hot or anything, but if one eye won't open, your other eye has trouble opening. So I basically one-eyed my way back to the truck through a canal and all kinds of stuff. And Corey's wife's a vet tech. My wife she's back working for a optometrist, so she was having Corey test my eye in the truck with his light, and they were like, "You want to go to the hospital?" And at that time, my dog's treed, and I'm like, "Let's get in there to her." And I couldn't walk to see her tree, but Corey got a video of it. And then the rest of the night, I sat there with the ice pack. But I will tell you this: if there's no better hunting buddy than Corey is, because they let me stay at their house, gave me an ice pack when I got up. Corey's wife, Kelsey, gave me some medicine. My wife called me about 50 times checking on me during the night. Was stressing out. I couldn't drive home, couldn't see. But then the next morning, he drove me to the eye doctor. He filled out my paperwork. He actually helped the eye doctor work the machine. It was a new machine for the eye doctor. He helped him work the machine. Took me to work. I said it worked kind of miserable, but then he took me to get my prescription after. And you can't ask for a better hunting buddy than that. But he also kind of shot me in the eye. So I guess he felt kind of bad too.
You felt guilty.
I kind of felt like I had to, right? No, I'd do it and do it all over again. I actually thought he was being weak at first, and I'm like, man, I don't know. It's just the eye. And I knew this is how I knew he was really hurting, because I've offered him to stay at the house many a nights. I mean, whether we were just hanging out and it was late or whatever, and no, I'll go home, or I got to ride home or whatever. And he ain't never stayed at the house. And that night he said, "I got to stay at your house." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, go ahead." And so I knew he was in a bind then.
Yeah.
But
it's about a 35-minute drive home. I couldn't do it. We found it till 3:30 in the morning, and he's like, "Stay at the house." I'm like, "I'm going home." My wife got mad at me for not staying at his house. I roll in about 4:30 in the morning, but no, you can't ask for a better hunting buddy than Corey.
Conkeys Outdoors is proud to be a sponsor of Tree Talkin Time. Family, hunting, tradition is the Conkeys motto. They understand the importance of passing down the tradition of hound hunting. They are a family-owned business that treats you like family. They also understand the importance of having the gear you need when you need it. Conkeys carries everything for your next hunt, and it ships to your door quick. They also offer great warranties on all tracking systems and financing options. Check them out at conkeys.com. You can also use the code TreeTalkinTime5 in all caps to save as well. Next up is a story from Jeremy Garner. This is probably the number one downloaded episode I had this year, but we're going to make sure we don't tell Jeremy Garner that. His head's already big enough, so definitely don't want it to get any bigger. Here's a story about a pup Jeremy was hunting named Honey. She was only 5 months old at the time in this story, and just really impressed me. That's why I wanted to include it in this episode.
I remember what I was doing, but I wasn't going to hunt. And I come home, and my wife says, you got about 2 hours before it gets dark. Take hunting, go hunt. So I throw it in the truck, and I very rarely do I go to public ground. I just don't like public hunting because you don't never know who you're going to run into. On public ground, any idiot can go buy a hunting license, go buy a gun, and go sit in public ground somewhere and don't know nothing about safety.
Oh yeah.
So I don't like going. I don't like being, but this particular day, I've got a few spots that they flood a lot and nobody else takes a dog to because they're dangerous. But I'll take pups there. I'll take a chance and take them there because it's a lot of game in there. So I went this afternoon. It was rainy. I mean, it was just a bad afternoon. So Briar didn't go with me. And I went, and she had made 1 or 2 trees. Nothing. I can't remember if it was den trees or I wasn't seeing nothing. And she is, I guess I could say she's semi-open. She don't really have she don't have a ball mouth like Bama.
Okay.
But when she gets excited, she's got a real squally locate to her. She's real short. And I heard her give that little squall locate. And I said, "Oh, this is a hot one here." I'll probably shoot a squirrel when I get there. Just what I'm thinking walking in. And then I'm watching the gong. She's still moving. Barks a few more times as she's moving. And I thought, okay, this is another plus on this pup. When I gauge a pup, they don't, these albino ones, they don't start at 0 with me. They start at negatives because they're already, they're already the wrong color.
Yep.
So they have to start on the negative scale where most everything else start at 0 and work their way up. So I thought, well, she's opening on track. That's a plus. She's moving on up on my non-cull scale. And I heard this little squall locate, and she started treeing pretty excited. And so I thought, well, this is a hot one. I started kind of moving hastily. I don't never run into a pup. I used to. When I was younger, Tim Cope would laugh at me. He'd tease me a lot because, I'd look like Last of the Mohicans running through the woods, jumping limbs and trees. Already got my gun off, safety, going in, ready to, spray and pray. I'd go in there and shoot 40 times at the tree if that's what I need to do. But I get to this pup's tree, and it's huge old live oak. And I'm looking all around. I'm like, you can park a Volkswagen Bug up in this thing and not see it. No way I'm gonna find a squirrel. As I was walking, she's just treeing like crazy. And as I walk around behind the tree, it split. Or I guess maybe lightning hit it at one time, and you know how they do. Half of them lay over and half of them standing, and it had a big split. And she's kind of, it's not really, she's not getting in the split, but she's kind of barking, into it. And I thought, well, she'd already treed that one coon and bait another one in a log. And I thought, well, I bet she's got a coon in there. And got my gun off safety. And I'm holding my gun, a 22 rifle, but I'm holding it one-handed because just from experience, I go looking in that hole and something wants to jump out at me. I want to be able to go popping caps and, I peek off in this hole, and I'm like, that's a dang bobcat in this hole. So, I didn't even have time to think because I was like, well, I don't want her getting on a bobcat because she ain't big as a minute. It'll kill her. So I just stuck my gun in the crack of this tree, and I just went to blazing off, throwing some heat up in there, and that bobcat come boiling out of this tree, and as it come out. And she went to lunge for it. I scooped her up and grabbed her, throwed my gun on the ground. It was empty. Grabbed the pup, and this bobcat come boiling out of this busted up tree, biting at itself. Thankfully, it kept going. I'm like screaming at it, like you would you see these videos of folks getting attacked by like buffaloes on the side of the road, and they hollering, "Ah!" I'm trying to hold the dog. Bobcat squalling and dogs barking, and Anyway, it goes off about 100 yards or so, and I guess 100 yards. Was right on the edge of a little food plot, and she's raising all kind of cane, and it. I finally hear it quit moving. I tie her back, grab my gun, reload. I walk over there. I make sure it's dead. I walk back to her, unleash her, and let her track it on her own. And she tracks. Of course, she's seen where it went. You know what I'm saying? But she tracks right to it. And I mean, when I say mouthing on it, I mean she was like mad at this bobcat. I mean, I can't even describe. I mean, you've heard old dogs fighting a coon, right?
Oh yeah.
All right, well, this bobcat was already pushing daisies, and she was fighting it like it was still alive. I mean, just mad at it. And of course, I'm excited. I'm like, I mean, ain't nobody gonna believe me, And I've had a couple of dudes on the one of the Facebook groups, like Big Game Kimmers or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of them old big game guys. Some of them don't like me no way because of my mouth, but whatever. But a couple of them old boys are like, I can't believe, a 5.5-month-old pup, trailed this bobcat up and, worked the scent for blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, man, I don't care if you believe me or not. I'm just telling you what happened. So, I went back to the tree where she treated me, and I put this bobcat up on the old busted up part that was leaned up, and I unleashed her. She run right up that tree, and that's where you see I post all them pictures around. Yep. She straddled that cat and would just throw that head up and just bark like crazy. I mean, she is game crazy, ridiculous. I think I'd mentioned, well, I guess this pup's done enough. I'm gonna give her a name, and Stacy, he piped up and he said, I've known him for several years, mm-hmm. and he piped up and he said, I'd call her Tupelo Honey. That's where she got her name from. A Feist man. I got an albino dog that a Feist man named for me. How's that? How's that for karma?
And after all that, he still ended up calling her. Luckily, he just moved her down the road to somebody else that she fit a little bit better. Her build and her mouth just weren't quite what he was looking for. But he's very picky, that's for sure. Well, if going face to face with a big black bear wasn't enough, here we are with Daryl back on the podcast again, going face to face with a mountain lion in a cave. I really appreciate Daryl and his son let me come up and visit with him. When Daryl was out this way to see his son and his grandkids and stuff. So I appreciate them letting me come up and kind of crash their day. And I only wish we would have been recording more. He told some great stories, while we were recording, but also when we got done recording as well. So I look forward to having Daryl on again. He's got so many different stories from just years and years of being a government hunter and trapper. So, but this one's pretty cool, and I even took it and actually wrote an article for Full Cry for the October issue, where Daryl gave me some photos to use as well. So definitely check those out. But here's Daryl telling us a story about how he was face to face with a mountain lion in a cave.
I got a call about lion killing calves on a place. Anyway, I went out there and they trailed it into kind of a big boulder pile. And this huge rock had split in half. And but to begin with, when I went there, there was a Mexican family living there, and they had a dog pen, and they said this lion had been trying to they had 2 Rottweilers in there. It said the lion was trying to get in there.
Jeez. And
anyway, I made a circle above and found his track so I could see where he was bleeding a little bit, and plus I could see it was pussy blood. And when he got to that cage, he did rub up against it, and there was blood there, what they didn't lick off, the dog. So I thought that was strange. And anyway, I found where he went out through the cows and where he killed this calf. And so I put the dogs on that track, and they went around. They came to this place I'm talking about. There was trees there in that part of the country, but anyway, they couldn't get up high enough. The cave dropped down where this rock split anyway, and there was a, like a male spot opening in there, and the lion was back under there in in a cave about 20 foot around or whatever, and so when I climbed up there and walked up there, the lion came out to the entrance and growled at me, which is unusual. In fact, usually when they are in caves, they're clear back in the back, far away from the entrance. So anyway, and I got down in there, and I couldn't see anything, and I didn't have a flashlight. I usually carried one, but the battery was dead. So anyway, and before I'd shot one in a cave using a match, and when I shot my pistol off, the match blew out. And so I didn't want to do that, and especially with this line. So I went back to the ranch and got a flashlight, and there was 2 young Mexican boys there, and they wanted to go back with me. So I took them back with me and with the flashlight. And when we got up there, that lion growled again. And one of them said, well, I've seen all I want to see. But the other one, he said, I'll go with you. And so we climbed down and then in, and I looked around in there with the flashlight, and I couldn't see it. But I couldn't see right behind me, either side, very close. And I thought, well, man, he might be sitting right there. So anyway, I took the flashlight and I told this kid, if I holler at you, and he only spoke Spanish anyway, but I speak Spanish. So anyway, I said, pull me out, and because I had to shinny in there, and with the gun on my chest, and I started in there, and he told me, he says, come back, So I came back, and when the light got inside, he looked, and that lion's sitting right over the hole.
Oh, geez.
And you could just see his paw right there like this, looking, sitting right above it. And he said, hey, that lion's right here, and there was nothing I could do but go in. And I crawled in there on my back, and when my head cleared that, got inside there, before my arms could come out, that son of a gun was right above me, and he looked, kind of laid his ears back and looked like he was setting to jump, and I thought, oh, Jesus. And I kind of froze for a second, and then I shinnied, and he relaxed a little bit, and I finally got the gun up there, and I shot him, and, I was shooting straight up, and I didn't make a very good shot. I hit him in the face, but I was shooting between his eyes, but it was at a steep angle, and that damn thing fell right on top of me, cut my face open, and then went around that cave, just pawing at his head and biting everything in sight, and I just lay there, and I thought, freak, man, what am I going to do? And I did. I chickened. I told that guy, pull me out. Well, he couldn't pull me out. I was laying on these rocks. And so anyway, I had to shoot upside down and that lion was just going all over, and I shot and missed it, and shot again and killed it. But if it hadn't have been addled, it was just luckily of everything it didn't bite in there, I was one of them.
Man, that was intense. If that didn't get your blood boiling, I don't know what will. Next, we have a story from Kenneth Chooch LaRue from episode 101. I just loved his storytelling and just describing how he grew up. Very much like a Billy Coleman style, upbringing. And back in the backwoods of Louisiana, where he talked about even not even having electricity and stuff when he was real little. And
I was born down here on the Sabine River bottom in 1951. We lived right on the edge of the bottom. My dad and them were trappers. They had wild hogs, wild cattle. They didn't really have a job per se.
Mm-hmm.
They lived off the land.
Yeah.
And so we learned how to trap. We like coons and mink, and we sold hides, and that's how we kind of made a living.
Yeah.
And so we started coon hunting. Obviously, coons was a big part of what we did, and so we run coons with dogs. Very few registered dogs at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them were grade dogs. But my dad, in about 1956 or so, he ordered a black and tan dog from Tennessee that was going to be the cat's meow down here. Well, he come in on the train. We went and picked him up, brought him home. Wasn't long we took him out, and that rascal, my dad named him Sputnik. About that time, the Russians had launched their satellite, and they called it the Sputnik because it'd go around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was probably a good name for him because that son of a buck could run a deer around the world.
There you go.
But to my knowledge, we've never treated a coon with him.
So you had a grade A deer dog, huh?
Deer, I'm telling you, a beautiful black and tan. But boy, he was good. He was gamey. But anyway, we kept old Sputnik. We liked Sputnik. But I kind of liked the black dogs after that. And even though we never treated a coon,
mm-hmm.
And with kids, we always hunted. In the evenings we'd come home from school and go hunting. And so probably about 10, 11 years old, I got where I could go by myself. And I had a 16 gauge shotgun with electric tape holding the forearm on. I had a bunch of old mutts around the house, and I had a lantern that I walked with, and I had a 2-cell flashlight in my pocket that I could shine the tree with.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go off in the creek bottom, and these little old dogs I had would tree everything from if it went up a tree, they tree it. And
when you say mutts, were they like cur dogs, or were they just crossed up?
They were
thing.
Well, down here in Louisiana, our dog that we made was a Catahoula cur.
Yep.
And they were Catahoulas.
Okay.
And they were tree dogs.
Mm-hmm.
They were rough stock hogs and cattle and stuff like that. They were good at all of it.
Yeah.
They were good universal dogs.
Mm-hmm.
But they would tree, and so I'd bomb an old coon out if I could find one of them. Boy, I'd shoot him up with that shotgun, and when you skin him, it looked like it was raining. That BBs, that pellet falling out of the hide when you skint that son of a buck. But so I hunted, all my life, all the way through. Had me a dog and kept getting a little bit better dogs.
As I bring this episode to a close and also this year to a close, I just want to say thank you once again to the listeners, to the sponsors, to the guest. I haven't said thank you to them publicly, but without them, trust me, this podcast wouldn't exist. I can't do monologues. It was hard enough doing it one time, so it's not my favorite thing. So I really appreciate the guest as well. And we're going to close out with a quote. It's my favorite quote of the year from Chuck Slattery in episode 92. Be sure to check out the January issue of Coonhound Bloodlines to find out even more about Chuck and his leopards. And I hope everyone has a safe and happy new year, and I'll catch you all in 2024. Thank you.
No. I think I told you the other day, I go to work every Monday morning. I'm like, man, this work, man, this is getting in the way of my professional coon hunting career. And they just laugh at me, but, you know.
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Tree Talkin Media. And until next time, keep 'em talking in the timber.